Good afternoon. It's a beautiful day in California. I have this pretty skirt on. Looks very SoCal, country chic. What I'm going to talk about today are at-home businesses. For the past 20 years, grandparents are meant to pay for their sales reps' grandchildren to have at least $600,000 for the past 20 years. That's $25,000 a year, which is very reasonable, exploited by slave trade prostitutes, who are referral-based prostitutes who are kicked out of their parents' house to be gang raped in order to have a prostitution business. It's really important that family support, because that's what supports them to be able to have a business. Makeup artists who went to makeup school for $40,000. Hairstylists who are celebrity hairstylists who did spots on TV, commercials, magazines, international campaigns, instead of doing a traditional 9-to-5 in a foreclosing store where you have to have clients anyway because it's ran by prostitution for any major store. So they literally have to have a place to live and a piece of tea. If you're someone who doesn't have that, you would get it through referrals, through your network. If you're a nurse, if you're a broker, and you could get it like Angelina Altician, who got $8,000 a month for life by being really positive about their calling, knowing that most stylists who do campaigns, commercials, and theatrical are all exploited by slave trade, but they never work in a store. And if they do, it's out of the city, and they commute to suburbia in 11 hours of traffic. So if you had an assistant who also is a sales rep, they didn't work in an office, and they do sales. But what they did was work 8 hours a day with their media. And it's through their media they're able to get jobs with the top percentage out of the city from suburbia, from their parents' house or from their husband's house. But if they have kids for the past 20 years, it causes teen suicide if they don't have 15 to be left alone. And it's through their network, because you have to support the businesses which are online for the major companies, because it's their own online store. Online banking is online. Support the church. They worked 8 hours a day in addition to their 9-to-5. They said it was 11 hours a day, commuting from the suburbia to the city. This is true. So they would have double as a family assistant in sales. Every makeup artist, stylist is a direct deposit. Grandparents would be paying a direct deposit. Otherwise, they can't talk because they work Monday through Sunday the entire time for the past 20 years, exploited by people who were kicked out to be a prostitute in offices, for brokers, for all these people, any kind of sales rep, men worshiping a male chauvinist. So they're exploited, whether it's yoga or Pilates, when they need clients through their network to be able to be a customer for every major company they represent. It's the same as the reps who are the prostitutes for every major business, for bikini brands, for lingerie brands, for clothing brands. They're all an ambassador when they were signed with agencies. It's the same for producers who would shoot their campaign and commercial. Models, agency-signed talent out of the city, and producers out of the city are able to co-produce with celebrities the entire time. But what it is they're safe because they have family support, they have a car, and they have $15,000 to be able to do it. So if families don't have the money, it's really important they're positive and encouraging about their soul and about their savant calling the entire time, because it's so important you support their calling. So for the past 20 years, you have people who worked minimum wage, no matter what they did in order to make it to manager. But they had to have family support in order to do that. Whether it's retail from the city to suburbia, it costs $15,000 for the car and the gas, but about $5,000 a year of clothes made in China for slave trade at the club. So it's really the fact that the entire time they had to have support if they're not a prostitute who's kicked out or a homeless martyr, because they wouldn't have the money to be able to do the $15,000 it takes to be able to make the extra money to pay the rent for a small business. So you have all these prostitutes recruited each year, and the ones who live are the ones who don't worship the idols with family support, and they had support in order to live. And that's the truth. For the past 20 years, it's sex trafficking, with guys having girls pay and girls having guys pay. That's why they were successful, because they had support, but it has nothing to do with the prostitution. They were supported by someone other than their parents, and that's why they lived. But it's not an excuse to fornicate, because the ones who are more successful did not fornicate with a girl or a guy paying, but it's their entire network. So it's very rare to have family support, but it's so important because those are the ones who are the most supported. The Christian Infinity artists who didn't sleep with anyone for a job, or side with agencies to have international celebrity media, which is more successful than the prostitutes and pimps at the club who are celebrities interviewed on Forbes. Commercial producers, campaign producers, and theatrical producers for low budget. But they said no every day from their parents' house. When the satanic productions for every major company for slave trade pick them up at their parents' house because their parents expect money or expect for them to be gainfully employed. So a lot of millennials have not seen their parents in 20 years. It's healthcare as a product of retail, for stem cell, for satanic productions, for satanic worship, where they actually kill the millennials and their families from their parents' house at the mental asylum, or pick them up with the mental asylum, picking them up from their parents' house, or it's the party promoter with Playboy, with every major company. That's why it's so important to support your millennials if they're knocked up since 20 years ago, but it starts now, to support them if you're a single mom, to get clients for $15,000 or for $5,000 to stay at home. And it's a cash deposit, giving without expecting anything in return, to have no favoritism, so that the ones who went to school for 4 years are not compared to people who went to a traditional school at an Ivy League school, but they're also not compared to the ones who went to a professional school for being a celebrity hairstylist, a celebrity makeup artist, or did acting, because they're talented. And they had 80 per hour privates for $300 a month of acting classes if they went to 4 years of professional school for acting while they're a model. And they're the top percentage. They're the celebrities. And they made $80,000 a day for the past 20 years times 2. And that's true. They have all these sales reps who came along when it became ran by a brothel, where they'd be fired if they're not a prostitute, with referral-based murders. So they said no every day, and small businesses broke the law, along with other businesses, but it was every client who broke the law. It's required by law they're paid $80,000 for every job they did, and they're celebrities. It's important they're not lied about, where people say they're not a celebrity, because they are. And no matter what job they did for the past 20 years, it's important they're able to heal, because they can't do over an hour when their body needs a break. It truly is ultimate. $600,000 of family money for the past 20 years for each millennial, each grandchild, times 2. Assistants in the family get double. Anything they got if they were put to work is just what they got. And they would have been fired because it costs $15,000 and it's an extra $5,000. Every company who got a charity owes them in full times 2 for this money. And every major client who is slave trade owes them their life. The entire amount in full. Them as a referral for their blessed families. And the justice system who support them.